Now, connecting a camera to your computer for live streaming, or even just displaying a camera feed to an in-person congregation, doesn't have to be difficult. So Dan and I have gathered up some of our favorite capture cards to show you how easy they are to install and use with EasyWorship.
Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future content.
Absolutely. Let's get down to it. Capture cards can be either internal or external, and depending on what you're wanting to do, choosing the right card could be a little confusing. And what we want to do today is show you which ones we've tried, which ones are our favorites, and which ones work the best with EasyWorship. So, if you use a desktop PC, you have the option of either an internal or external capture card. Internal cards can have either one or multiple inputs, so it's possible to have only one capture card and still have up to 3 or 4 cameras plugged into it. Once you get it installed, it's usually not too difficult to use, but if it didn't already come installed on a computer, you're going to either need to install it yourself or have someone install it for you, like a tech-savvy nephew. You'll also need to make sure drivers stay updated. Depending on the brand, this could cause some trouble getting them to work properly, but because they're plugged into a slot on the motherboard, there's practically little to no latency, which is very nice in the long run.
Now, when using an internal capture card, we recommend Magewell PCI Express cards. They have single and multi-channel models that can capture up to 4 channels of HD or 2 channels of 4K video, plus corresponding audio. The different models have support for HDMI, SDI, DVI, or analog signals, and can detect the input signal format automatically. Now, these can range in price from about $300 for the single HDMI all the way up to about $2,000 for the dual SDI 4K+. Now, other recommendations are the Blackmagic Design Intensity Pro 4K or an Elgato 4K 60 Pro. Now, both of these support up to 4K capture at 60 frames per second. They also both have an HDMI input and HDMI output, but the Intensity Pro also has an analog video input and output, plus analog and digital audio. Now, at the time of recording this video, both of these cards cost about $250.
Which isn't too bad. Now, alternatively, there are external capture cards that'll simply plug into a USB port on the computer. This is really the only way to go with a laptop, but also makes it much easier on a desktop as well. And with the faster speeds of USB, there's little to no latency to worry about. Now, there are still some external cards that you need to install drivers for, but some of them are truly plug and play. And they are our favorites. Now, we're talking about the Magewell capture cards, or Magewell. If you want to simply plug in a USB cable and then plug in your camera to the card and start streaming, this is the way to go. Magewell has a few different cards to choose from, so you should be able to find one that fits your needs perfectly. The USB Capture HDMI Gen 2 card has one HDMI input plus embedded audio. It supports a capture input resolution up to 2048 by 2160 and 120 FPS with a 2-channel audio stream. The sister to this card is the USB Capture SDI Gen 2. It has one SDI input plus embedded audio. Now, this card supports a capture input resolution of 2048 by 1080 and 120 frames per second. These are great if your camera is a really long distance of up to 150 meters from your capture card and your camera supports SDI.
Now, another favorite is the USB Capture HDMI Plus. This supports capture resolutions up to 2048 by 2160 and 120 frames per second. This also includes an HDMI 4K loop-through port and headphone and microphone jacks. Now, the sister card to this one is the SDI version. It has the same features as the SDI Gen 2, but also has an SDI loop-through and the analog line-in and line-out audio jacks. Now, these Gen 2 cards run about $300, and the Plus cards are about $360. Another brand that we recommend that's plug-and-play is the Aja, however you want to pronounce that. They have an HDMI and SDI model as well. Now, both support 1080 capture at 60 frames per second and embedded audio. The SDI version has an SDI loop-through port as well. Now, these have a little higher price point at about $350 each. Elgato has a USB Cam Link 4K capture card that costs about $130 and is also plug and play. It has an HDMI input that supports 1080p at 60 frames per second or up to 4K at 30 frames per second. So if you want to use something that's a little less expensive, this might be your route to go. But for the better quality and lower latency, we do recommend the Magewell cards for just a little higher cost.
Absolutely. Now, the last one we want to talk about, just because we've done videos on it before, is the Blackmagic ATEM Mini or Mini Pro, like Dan has in his hands. Now, this is a mixer, but can also be used as a capture device. It has 4 HDMI inputs and can plug in USB to the computer to act as a capture card. This is a great option if you need an external card and have up to 4 cameras. Now, the Mini is about $300 right now, and the Mini Pro is about $500, but we can't recommend them enough. EasyWorship truly does make it easy to set up a camera feed and use it as a background for your songs and presentations, or to even send it to your live stream. Once you have your capture card installed, and with the USB cards like the Magewell, all you have to do is plug it in. You can open EasyWorship, head over to the Media tab, and then click on Feeds on the left.
Right-click in the Feeds library on the right-hand side and select Add New Feed. Give it a name at the top, then click the drop-down next to Input Device and select the capture card you have installed. All your options should fill in automatically, but if you need to change any of them, you can. Then click OK. Now from there, you can go live to the feed directly, or you can create a theme with it, or just use it as a background.
Absolutely, Dan. So that just about wraps up our recommendations and overview when it comes to capture cards and where they fit in with your church's setup. Now, Dan and I really hope that this video helps you make a more informed decision when adding a camera feed to your in-person service or to enhance your live stream by adding a capture card to your technological arsenal.
Now that being said, from everyone here at EasyWorship, thank you so much for watching.
And you guys have an incredibly blessed day.